Today we'll be beginning this Jenkins. See, this Jenkins continuous integration server or build automation tool is very important for everyone. Not only for DevOps people, it's used to automate the integration process. So let's begin. So what is Jenkins? Anyone, any idea? Have anyone used Jenkins, by the way?
Yes, Preeti.
So for what purpose you have used it?
Just a normal demo project. I just interlink with the Git and running the functions.
Okay. Okay. So Jenkins is a continuous integration tool. Right? What is meant by continuous integration? In the day one, like in the introduction class, we have learned about this continuous integration concepts, right? Today we'll learn them in more detail and understand what it does. Let's talk about the continuous integration process. I'm sharing the Blackboard. So what Jenkins does, imagine like there are people, okay, working on Git. There is a team of people who works, developers. Okay, this is a team of developers who are making some changes to their code. Okay, and they put their code in the Git. That's what they do, right? We have learned already. Developers write the code and they push the code to Git. Now we know what is that technically. Let's say they are making commits on this repository, right? They are making commits on this Git repository. They are pushing their changes here. So whenever there is a commit, okay, let's say there is some commit today, this morning, developer push some commit. So whenever there is a commit, what I need is I need a system which can pull the code and build it. What is meant by building the code? Anyone? What is meant by code build? Like till now, from day one, we were talking about code build, continuous deployment, continuous build. So what is a code build?
The whole code is converted into some jar file or a UR file or
Okay, see, building the
yes.
code. See, these are the basics everyone should have clarity on. What is meant by building the code? Building the code means compiling the code and packaging the code. Right? What is meant by again compiling? See, this is done by developers generally. Okay, they will build the code, but like with automation, anyone can do it with automation tools. Like particularly in the DevOps CI/CD pipeline, even this code build stage can be integrated. You don't need to know coding about it. Okay, you just need to compile the code. What is meant by again compiling? If you take some Java code, let's talk about Java code. Okay, they will write the code. That code is called source code, the raw format will be converted into executable code or binary code, which is called compiling. Converting this source code into executable code is called compiling. Clear? Then what is packaging? Packaging means, let's say, okay, they have written 10 or hundreds of Java files, right? How do you deploy it? They should provide you, or else we can pack the code and create a deployable file. Deployable file means ready to be deployable. Means ready to deployment. Okay, you can just take the file and deploy it. Do you remember we have deployed something on Tomcat server? Do you remember that?
Yes, tar files.
Yeah, var file, sample var file we have deployed. Yeah, I told you it's like a zip file. When you put it there, it will be extracted. Var file means web archive file, different formats in which Java code can be archived, right? So yeah, this is compiling and this is packaging. Like I told you, hundreds of files can be converted into single deployable file, which you can deploy. So these two put together, compiling, packaging, put together is called building the code, right? So some code need not be compiled or packaged. No build required. Like for Python code, you don't need to build it. So wherever required, okay, that's called building code. It's not mandatory that you should build the code. Okay, it depends on the code, the programming language they were using, right? So if the code requires build, yeah, this is called compiling and packaging. So what if build is required? Yes, whenever they pull it, I need a system which can pull the code and build it. Means which can identify, okay, there had some commit. So that should pull the code and build it, which is called continuous builds. Okay, fine. This is continuous development. They were developing the code continuously. Here comes the build. Okay, how do you compile and package? Yeah, you can do it manually. There were so many editors also help you to compile and package like VS Code editor, IntelliJ and all. Otherwise, you can use some scripts, or else the best way to automate is there were build automation tools. Okay, there were tools. What are the tools? Build automation tools like Maven and Gradle, okay, NPM. There were so many build automation tools. It depends again. Which tool to use is a developer call. Like I told you, it's a developer tool. So
what about this AWS code build? This is also comes under AWS code build also comes under this one, right?
AWS code build also comes under build automation. Above that, it can also help you building Docker images also. Okay, using AWS code build, you can do this build automation, as well as you can build Docker images also. That additional privilege is also there with AWS code build. But yes,
Okay.
similar to them. Correct. Okay.
Thank you.
So build automation tool is only for building the code. You cannot build Docker images here. Okay, that's the additional thing you have with AWS code build. Okay, so these are all the build automation tools. These are developer tools. Which tool to use will be a developer call. Either to use Maven or Gradle or NPM, right? It's a developer call. Depending on which tool to use, right? We'll be using that tool in the pipeline. Like let's say they have chosen Maven. Maven will be. Also which tool, like I told you, depends on the programming language they have used also. Like Maven and or Gradle, all these works for Java projects. NPM is for JavaScript. Likewise, each programming language has got its own build automation tool. Whatever build automation tool is, the concepts will be similar, the way it will be used will be similar. And as a DevOps person, you don't need to learn it thoroughly end to end. You just need to know few things here, which I'll be teaching you. Okay, we'll be working with Maven here. So whatever it is, yeah. I need a system which will identify, okay, there is a commit, pull the code, build it. Okay, when build is happening, when compiling and packaging, there might be some syntax errors, runtime errors identified. So builds may fail. What if a build fail? What to do if a build fail? Yes.
Like give the report to developers.
Yeah, who will fix it? Whom we should send if build fail?
Developers.
Obviously, development team. So that will be sent to developers. Okay. They will they'll fix the code means again they are making a commit, pushing the code to version control system, correct? So if the build fail, yes, they will fix the code, make changes to the code and again push the code. Again push the code means a commit, right? Pushing a code is a commit. So whenever there is a commit, yes, this system should identify, pull the code, build it. Okay, this process keep on continuing till the builds are successful, till the builds pass. Okay, once the builds are successful, then comes the next stage of continuous testing. Okay, what is this continuous testing? Testers will be there, separate team of testers, automation testers. They might be writing some test cases using some test automation tool. See, if you are new to automation testing, let me tell you, automation testing is nothing but, again, testers will write the code. Testers will write the code, which will test the code. Isn't it? They write some test cases, which is also some coding, which will test this code written by developers. Right? So automation test engineers will write some test cases. Here, those test cases will be executed. That's all. This is about executing those test cases. Automation. Right? Again, in the pipeline. Okay, build successful means next stage. Execute the test cases. Right? So once they execute the test cases, if all the test cases pass means, yes, they'll be deployed to the next phase, which is continuous deployment. Of course, here also it is deployed. Okay, deployed to test environment and then tested. But I'm highlighting deployment here for the next stage. If all the test cases passed, it can go here. What if test cases fail? What should we do if test case fail? Again, report it to developers, right? They'll make changes, they'll fix the bugs, again push the code. Whenever they push the code, it will be sent to developers, continuous development, continuous builds, continuous testing until all the test cases are passed. Once test cases are passed, then continuous deployment means deploy to the next environment. Let's say test case pass, everything is passed, all clear, no bugs, no defects. So then it will be deployed to Next environment, continuous deployment. Okay, this is deployment. And here, test cases can be written in any, using any test automation tool, maybe Selenium, JMeter, UFT, whatever it is. Just run the test cases here. Then deploy it. Deployment, for deployment, you may use Docker. Of course, you may have already containerized it. So you may deploy it on Kubernetes cluster for high availability, for load balancing those. That's again a different story. To configure all these servers, you may use Ansible or whatever. Again, the pipeline. So every time, if you notice here, each time developer making a change, it's merged into the system, integrated, built, and tested. Right? This complete process is called continuous integration till this much. Right? So this is called continuous integration. Of course, continuous deployment. But till now, I'm talking about whenever developer is placing a change, I need a system which can identify, pull the changes. How are those changes pulled? Like, what is that system? How is that identified? Through something called Jenkins. That's where Jenkins comes in. I'm talking about whenever developer push the code, I need a system which can sense the changes and pull the code. What is that system? That system is called Jenkins, right? So this is what Jenkins does. Means Jenkins will identify the changes, help you pull the code and build it via Maven, help you test it via some automation tool, help you deploy it using some other tools. Means what is Jenkins doing? Jenkins is actually doing nothing. It's like a manager or orchestrator. The very best example that suits Jenkins is music band. If you take a music band, there'll be an orchestrator and so many people who will be working with different instruments. They will actually play the music. Orchestrator will just instruct them with a band in his hand, right? Which instrument should be played at what level and all. So the same is the case with Jenkins. Jenkins will help you use Maven to build the code. It will help you use some test automation tool and execute those test cases. It will help you use some deployment tools like Kubernetes, Ansible, or whatever and deploy it. Right? It's like an orchestrator, manager. It will hold all these tasks. In Jenkins, these are all called as jobs or tasks. You can create a Maven job. You can create a test job. These are all called as different jobs or tasks in Jenkins. Understood what Jenkins does? Got an idea? Any
So
questions here?
basically, it manages the pipeline, the entire pipeline.
Correct. Using Jenkins, we will create this pipeline. Entire
Correct.
pipeline will be hosted via Jenkins. You will integrate different tools in the pipeline.
Right.
So that's about build process, compiling, packaging. Make a note of all of this. Okay. We will also do hands-on and everything. But yeah, this is what Jenkins does, which will help you automate the whole process. There were so many other tools again in the category, but Jenkins is a clear winner. Why and all you'll see, because of its features and all, its ease of use. See, Jenkins is very, very easy to learn. Okay. You have to understand it. That's all. Very easy because you have a great user interface. You don't use commands and all much. So it will be very easy for you to handle. So see what is